You're welcome back. This is Newsfile. It's your most authoritative news analysis platform. And here on Newsfile, as always, we put Ghana first. As we get into the season, getting you to relax, just relax and enjoy the conversations that we are having. The next one coming up is very troubling. And then after that, we will look at the questioning of the contract lie. Yeah, a lie about a particular contract, and find out if what we are being told represents the truth or it's anywhere close to the truth. So this week started with Catholics and even non-Catholics the world over agitated at news that sought to damage the image of the world's biggest Christian denomination with the largest membership and impact on society. Popular U.S. evangelist, president of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, Franklin Graham, joined many in slamming Pope Francis. He wrote, quote, "So-called blessings from religious leaders won't save you from the judgment of God," end quote. He said, "You can't bless what God calls sin," unquote. Catholic bishops elsewhere have rejected what was reported, or is it misreported, as authorization for Catholic priests to bless same-sex marriages. So here, we want to speak to a Catholic bishop about what exactly this means. There have been several interpretations to this particular development. So keep your dials here. Particularly, of course, it's not just about Catholics, even if you are a non-Catholic, because non-Catholics are equally concerned. Share with us what your views are. And if you have come to appreciate the issues better also, let us know as well. So let your messages come in respect of this issue as well, because it's been very troubling, particularly even in some circles. You find certain Catholics that they don't seem to take what the Catholic bishops have said to be the gospel truth. They have suspicion. And some have said this is just an attempt to test the waters, because it does appear to them that the Catholic Church may want to join that other church to accept, people of this class, LGBTQ. Joining us for this discussion is the Most Reverend Joseph Afrifah-Agyekum, Catholic Bishop of Koforidua. Good morning, and thank you very much for making time to join us.
Good morning, and
right.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So I'm just looking at the statement that the Catholic bishops issued, and it was categorical that Catholic bishops or priests, Catholic priests, have not been authorized to bless same-sex marriages. I read the first paragraph. It says, "We, the members of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, have seen the need to issue this statement in the wake of the publication on 18 December 2023 of a document from the Dicastery of the Doctrine of the Faith entitled Fiducia Supplicans, Supplementing Trust on the Pastoral Meaning of Blessing. Following its publication, some TV and radio news items as well as posts on social media have falsely stated that Pope Francis has formally given Roman Catholic priests the permission to bless same-sex marriages. This publication has caused a lot of consternation among many people, Catholics and non-Catholics alike, we would like to make the following points. Firstly, the declaration does not, very emphatic, does not give Catholic priests the permission to bless same-sex marriages. Your Lordship, what is the explanation? Because from the documents from the Vatican, people's reading and understanding is that you have been giving the authorization to bless same-sex marriages.
Thank you very much for reading the introductory part of the pastoral, the letter from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. And let me also start off by quoting from the Catholic Catechism, and then afterwards I'll come back to the point that you have just raised.
All right.
And I'm reading from, if you permit me, I'm reading from 2357 from the Catholic Catechism, which states, because it talks about the whole document or debate is about same-sex marriage or homosexuality.
That's right.
So the Church's teaching is that homosexuality refers to relations between men or between women who experience an exclusive or predominant sexual attraction toward persons of the same sex. It has taken a great variety of forms through the centuries and in different cultures. Its psychological genesis remains largely unexplained, basing itself on sacred scripture, which presents homosexual acts as acts of grave depravity. Tradition has always declared that homosexual acts are intrinsically disordered and gives biblical quotation to that. They are contrary to the natural law. They close the sexual act to the gift of life. They do not proceed from a genuine affective and sexual complementarity. Under no circumstances can they be approved.
Under no circumstances can they be approved.
And that is from the Catholic Catechism, which is the basic book that we use in teaching our Catholic faith and our Catholics. So with this document, for example, the next day, for those who are listening to us, they could read further 2358, but I won't go there immediately. So now to the point that you have raised from the declaration from the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ghana. It is quite obvious that, yes, reading through the entire document, we are not being asked intrinsically to bless same-sex marriages.
Please hold on there just for a minute. In the document from the Vatican at page 20, which is the English translation of the declaration, on the title, on the pastoral meaning of blessing. In paragraph 3, it begins by saying that as with the Holy Father's above-mentioned response to the dubia of 2 cardinals, this declaration remains firm on the traditional doctrine of the Church about marriage, not allowing any type of liturgical rite or blessing similar to a liturgical rite that can create confusion. The value of this document, however, is that it offers a specific and innovative contribution to the pastoral meaning of blessings, permitting a broadening and enrichment of the classical understanding of blessings, which is closely linked to a liturgical perspective. Such theological reflection, based on the pastoral vision of Pope Francis, implies a real development from what has been said about blessings in the magisterium and the official text of the Church. This explains why this text has been taking on the typology of a declaration. It is precisely in this context that one can understand the possibility of blessing couples in irregular situations and same-sex couples without officially validating their status or changing in any way of the church's perennial teaching on marriage. This declaration is also intended as a tribute to the faithful people of God who worship the Lord with so many gestures of deep trust in His mercy, and who, with a confidence, constantly come to seek a blessing from Mother Church. Yes, please go on.
Okay, thank you very much for making reference to that aspect of the declaration. And let me also continue by saying, when the news was splashed in CNN and other media or communication screens, the highlights, gave the impression that the Holy Father has given permission to priests to bless same-sex marriages. In fact, when some of us saw it, I personally, when I saw it on a Ghanaian television because the whole day had been very busy when the document was issued on the 18th of this month. I said, what is happening? That was my first question. Mm-hmm. And so I called even one or two bishops to ask them. And they said, no, that is not the intention of the Holy Father or the document. So what I can also say after mentioning that one is that, the document, I think, has gone too far in trying to explain in words and theological and scriptural balance that are often very difficult for many of us to even appreciate or to understand, And if you look at the whole document, as you may also have, bringing this down into even our language, which is our vernacular, becomes so difficult to come down to the people, Ga, Nzima, or Eve, or Akan, or whatever. It's not easy to explain these things. And in my view, looking at the document, especially from the introduction, and then I will link it up with the decision from the document from the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference. The first three, the introduction of the document, that is the declaration on the 18th of December this year, should be suffice for any clarification as far as this document is concerned. On paragraph 2, if you have the same document that I have, it states the reason for this declaration. And in paragraph 4, 5, and 6, which is the blessing in the sacrament of marriage,
right,
it states, just as you have also quoted, what is marriage, the essence of marriage, the understanding of marriage by the Catholic Church, and what can be done, what cannot be done. And then the declaration, I think, could have even ended on paragraph 6, because these first paragraphs capture, in my view, everything. And I think it's the elaboration in trying to elaborate what biblical meaning of blessing and so forth. This is what is, and then of course, blessing same-sex marriage, yes or no, and so forth. Because when you look at for example, paragraph 39, there's a certain confusion there.
So if I may read paragraph 4 to you, the paragraph you just referred to. It says, Pope Francis's recent response to the second of the 5 questions posed by 2 cardinals offers an opportunity to explore this issue further, especially in its pastoral implications. It is a matter of avoiding that something that is not marriage is being recognized as marriage. Therefore, rites and prayers that could create confusion between what constitutes marriage, which is the exclusive, stable, and indissoluble union between a man and a woman, naturally open to the generation of children, and what contradicts it are inadmissible. This conviction is grounded in the perennial Catholic doctrine of marriage. It is only in the context of that sexual relations that find their natural, proper, and fully human meaning. The Church's doctrine on this point remains firm. So if this is the Church's doctrine, that marriage is one between a man and a woman, and any other which contradicts that is inadmissible, what is the purpose for this document?
Okay. If you read further, if you had read number 5, it also clarifies this whole business. And let me also explain. You see, when we talk about blessing, we need to explain what we mean by blessing. As a priest, as a bishop, I walk around, I go to parishes, I go to places, hospitals, and so forth, prison. And you meet people, oh, Father, oh, Bishop, can you bless me? Whether the person is a Catholic or not Catholic, I can never refuse that blessing. Sometimes even I go further to ask, what is the intention? Why do you want this blessing? And some will state, maybe my business is not thriving, maybe my marriage is not going well, maybe I'm going to write examination, I need some blessings so that to strengthen me to be able to get through my examination, and so on and so on. Why cannot I go to a hospital, I visit a particular patient, and then in that ward, there are other patients. And so after visiting my patient, as it were, after praying for that particular person, I always say, please, can I pray for all of you? I do that daily. So with this in mind, I don't think that a blessing of people should actually be restricted to have any confusion. But of course, when the document talks about blessing the same-sex marriages, if, for example, I am there as a bishop or a priest, and I have 2 men standing before me, or 2 women standing before me, and they ask me for a blessing, if their intention is for me to bless their union, I'm sorry to say, even if I bless them, it becomes illicit. It doesn't, as it were, make it a sacrament. So the sacramental and non-sacramental needs also to be clarified. And so if the people tell me before I do the blessing that, oh, we want the blessing so that it's like considered a holy union, if I use the word, or a marriage, that one I will beg them, say, please, that one I cannot. And I think that is why this confusion seems to be coming up. And since the issuance of this declaration, I'm sure you may have come across a lot of bishops' conferences around the globe, Africa especially, from Ukraine, from Kyrgyzstan, and so forth. They have all issued statements the way they are understanding this document. In fact, coming at the time that it came, it also has created a lot of pain. And I was happy when you were introducing the program, you said it has agitated the minds of many Catholics and non-Catholics. Mm-hmm. Even I would say, I will add the word that, yes, it assisted us so much, trying to, as it were, explain what this document is all about. But as I mentioned, this document could have ended on paragraph 6, that is the introduction, paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think they would have, as it were, given us a respite in trying to go through all these issues of trying to explain to our faithful Catholics and even non-Catholics.
So how did you feel when you got reactions, including from Catholic bishops in Malawi, which was published, that Catholic bishops in Malawi reject Pope's call for same-sex blessings?
Yes, that is the interpretation or understanding of the Bishops' Conference. And even the one from Cameroon is even stronger, in case you have laid hands on that one. And I'm sure you may have also had the interview that the Archbishop of Kumasi also made. And they are making it categorical that we will not bless same-sex marriage, for that matter, as a marriage, understanding it to be a sacrament. As for that one, I think it's been made clear. And that is why the Nigerian Bishops' Conference, the Malawi bishops, and so forth, Kenya, and so forth, have all come out with statements. But from Ghana, what we have just mentioned is that, yes, that is not the mind of the document. But no, I don't think any Ghanaian bishop is going to bless same-sex marriage with the understanding that it is a sacrament.
So you, and I think even in your premise, before you started explaining, you admit that this was sort of self-inflicted, to the extent that even certain bishops elsewhere took it to mean the confusion.
Yes. You see, the underlying current is all these efforts and attempts by LGBTQ to try, to get the church to accept and acknowledge same-sex marriage as part of the Catholic sacraments. And this is what is creating also, most of us are quite afraid of. And we need really to work seriously towards that one. We stand by our faith, we stand by our tradition, our culture, and so on. And so I don't think anybody would like to go into that one, to disturb the faith of our people.
The question remains, why was this necessary in the first place? Why did it become necessary to make such a declaration, as in the Vatican?
That is, you see, as it is stated in the document and the introduction, because some two cardinals had presented dubia. Dubia means some concerns that they had, challenges, pastoral challenges to that effect. And of course, Western world, especially the German bishops, were also agitating, for the blessing of same-sex marriages. And so when this, among the documents that these two cardinals presented, one of them was the blessing of same-sex marriage. And that is why on the 22nd of February, for example, the Congregation for the Dicastery for the Doctrine of the Faith came out with a statement on that. And then when the dubia came, they also had to, as it were, extend or expand it. And so it is the dubia that was explained was 22nd of February, the year 2021. And then this year, there was this second appeal. And so that is why the Congregation, Dicastery for the Doctrine of Faith, decided to come out to respond to this dubia. And the document makes it clear that, yes, in consultation with the Holy Father. But what some of us are also saying is that, just as you have also mentioned, was it really necessary? And even if it was necessary at this time. But as I have just stated, I think they expanded the explanation too much. I think the statement should have just been made, we cannot bless same-sex marriage as a sacrament. And that's it, But to go on to try to explain biblical meaning of blessing, theological meaning of blessing, and so forth, these are not things that, for us simple people in Africa and what we call the mission countries, these are not our major pastoral concerns. We have more demanding pastoral concerns that we need to, as it were, delve into, and for the church to help us to resolve, and not, as it were, limiting ourselves so much or concentrating so much on the same-sex marriage blessings.
So please repeat again for the understanding of the lay person. What is the difference? What is this declaration requiring Catholic priests to do, and how is it different from blessing a marriage of same-sex couple?
Okay, thank you very much. In the Catholic Church, marriage, if it is celebrated in the church and witnessed by a priest becomes a sacrament. At the same time, the church also acknowledges and even requires that before the couples come before the church for blessing or for the nuptial blessing, that they also would have done the traditional one and the civil marriage also. These are requirements, especially because of hereditary and what is the word? I can't remember it. When somebody dies,
inheritance.
The inheritance, exactly, yes. And so these are the requirements. The priest is a witness to that sacrament. And it is also a stated fact, just as I have quoted from the Catechism of the Catholic Church, 2357 and 2358, that the church does not admit and does not bless sin. It's stated in the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So what this document is trying to say, which I have said that, yes, it has elaborated it too much to the extent that it has brought a little bit of confusion to many, and it was needless. And so the point of the church should remain that, yes, we still stand by what the tradition of the church and the practice of the faith, and especially when it comes to the liturgical act of blessing marriages. And marriages, as we understand in the church, is between a man and a woman. Over there, overseas, internationally, people now don't want to talk even about gender, but we have no choice. I'm born a man, you are born a woman. So we cannot deviate from that. And also, it must also respect the sensibilities and cultural sense of the communities that the churches are in.
Right.
Asia, in Africa, and so forth. I'm sure you agree with me that even till now, in this country, many communities, if they really get to know that, for example, a man and a man or a woman and a woman have had an affair, they are banished from the community. It's a taboo. In some places, even they will, slaughter a goat or a sheep or something and pour the blood on you. That is fine, the tradition. Not too long ago in Kranza, I read something about it. And so the sensibilities of our people should not also be underrated. And I think that is one area that we have to understand. And so to answer your question directly, I understand it that the church is not, or this declaration is not asking us to bless sacramentally any such union. One of the paragraphs which may have created such confusion is that which is unfortunate, and eventually we hope that this thing will not also happen. And yes, and then also that we can bless same-sex marriages, but then blessing can be given to people for different reasons and for different intentions. That one we should not discriminate.
So as the document says itself, that marriage in the Catholic Church must be one between a man and a woman, and that any other that contradicts that is inadmissible.
Exactly.
And yet, it encourages you of what it says, the possibility of blessing couples in irregular situations. Can you explain to us what other irregular situation there will be for couples aside the same-sex couples, which it says you should think of a possibility of blessing the couples without officially validating their status or changing in any way the church's teaching on marriage?
Yes, that is the paragraph 31, item 3 on the document, which speaks about blessings of couples in irregular situations and of couples of the same sex. Irregular situations means, I will understand it to mean a man and a woman, but who are not married sacramentally. we will call it irregular situation. And then the other aspect is the couples of the same sex, which will be another category. And so in the case of the first one, definitely we are not blessing. It's almost like the same thing with the same-sex marriage. Until the couples really go through the requirements of the church as far as preparing yourself to receive that sacrament of marriage, any blessing that comes up is not sacramental. And the same thing, in my view, applies to same-sex. So the people would have to prepare themselves, avail themselves of the demands of the church as far as satisfying the requirements of the church by way of our understanding of marriage before that marriage can be done. And it can only be done according to the rite, that is the liturgical rite of the church.
So
in the same way, okay.
Is it accurate for me to say you are blessing the individuals in, call it an ordinary blessing, that God has elected you or God has blessed you to be in this special position, and people come to you, as you say, and ask for your blessing, so you impart the blessing. So you are blessing them as individuals, even if they were sinners. Of course, that's why, Christ came to die. You go to the prisons, for example, and you bless people. This is the same thing, and not the marriage, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Technically, what you are saying is that which is the mind of the church. If the people, definitely this thing is not going to happen, for example, in the church. It's not going to happen during a liturgical celebration.
Okay.
It may be after Mass or after church service, or you have met them, you've gone to their house and as a pastoral visit, and they ask for a blessing. Why not? I cannot refuse that one. But it should not be taken that, the priest came here or the bishop came here or we met him and he imparted a blessing on us. And so we are now married in the sense that it's now become a sacrament. That is not the mind of the church.
So as it may be said, the ultimate blessing is the Holy Communion. Does it mean, through your explanation, does it mean as people will be in what you call irregular relationships or situations, will not be able to receive communion, the same applies to such people? Yes,
that is the stand. The meaning the church puts to this. It's not yet a sacrament, and so they cannot go to access Holy Communion.
What will you say, perhaps finally, to those who feel that this is subtle and an attempt to prepare the minds of the biggest church in the world to begin to think about accepting this same-sex people? What would you say about that? What would you say to such people, that this is deliberate?
Well, I don't know, but let me, maybe before I answer the deliberateness or not, the thing is that, one, the church has never despised homosexual people or people living in same-sex people. And we have always preached that we should show them love and bring our pastoral closeness to such people and help them. And that is what the church teaches us. And the Pope, I think, has made it one or the other point earlier that we should feel close to these people and engage them so that pastorally we would be able to, bring them to come to see, to change. And it does not also mean that we are affirming their relationship or their union. No, but it's just that we try, just as Jesus, handled the prostitutes and people who were, as it were, pagan, so-called pagans and so forth. He went to the so-called sinners. We have to be with them. And the Holy Father has said that we should also smell like the sheep. And so smelling like the sheep doesn't mean that you also become, you are blessed, you are accepting the sin. The sin aspect definitely is something that we have to work hard. So that is what I would say. And then back to your the people who are. How did you even put it? Sorry.
If you like, I may say your detractors. Like they say in our local parlance, your detractors may be happy that eventually this is coming up. And to say, for example, after you have given your 101%, blessing to the bill that is before Parliament now, then suddenly we heard Cardinal Turkson, who is rumored potentially could become the first, Pope, so to speak, Black Pope, give an interview to international media and say, oh no, let's be careful, let's not criminalize ABC. And people say, you don't seem to be sure what you want to do, or this is exactly where you are leading us to.
Yeah. If I will use your word, detractors, or maybe people who are in a subtle way hoping that this thing will change, I think the church that I am in and that I'm a member, I don't think is going to change its doctrine and its practice as far as this issue is concerned. I think the church is quite firm, and I don't foresee in the very near future or even into the future that the church will change its mind. So they should not be worried. Definitely, when these statements come up, it agitates the minds of people. And we hope that these will be minimized or even be curtailed for the greater glory of God and also for the simple people of the Catholic Church. And so it is my hope that these things, topics will not continue to, because the stand of the church is quite clear. It is not going to change. But seeing somebody who is a homosexual doesn't mean that people should attack them, should beat them. No, that one, it should not be. They are human beings. They have a right. We should not, as it were, attack them because they are homosexuals. But at the same time, that is what I would also say, that you see, they are often becoming so loud, advertising it and so forth. And that is what sometimes make people also come out, and it almost becomes like a head-on collision. If you are saying this, we also have a right to say what we also stand for. I mean, if you go to the US and Europe and so forth, there are people who are totally against this. Transgender, people who have changed their sex and so forth. And people are against it. But it doesn't mean that, it is an acceptable thing across the globe. And people should be allowed also to have their own view and remain where they want to be. And so that, you being here, you being there, let's respect ourselves and not, as it were, make it like a fight. But at the same time, please, don't let us pump and push unnecessarily some of these, which are, to a large extent, not the norm, or it's not natural.
Thank you very much, Your Lordship, for reaching beyond your parishioners. And we know that starting tomorrow, or any masses will have to continue to educate those who have been downhearted, particularly until the explanations began to pour in. Thank you very much for your time once again.
I thank you, and I know definitely that it's going to be one of our pastoral engagement this Christmas, 24th night, and into the new year. And we are going to do our best with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. And I wish all your viewers a blessed, a Merry Christmas, and a prosperous, peace-filled New Year 2024. Thank you.
That was going to be my last request, but a bird whispered to me that yesterday was a special day to you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. I'm waiting for the hamper.
Right. Thank you very much. All right. Okay. And that has been the Most Reverend Joseph Afrifah-Agyekum, Catholic Bishop of Koforidua.